In today's video, we're going to cover three different star guards, Kyrie, Trae Young, and Ja Morant, and the latest surrounding all three of them. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you were new. Also, we hit our like goal last time. I want to say thank you. Let's see if we can do it again. Let's get this video to a goal of 300 likes. Very easy. We can easily do that. So that being said, let me know in the comments down below. With Trae Young out, what do you expect or project for the Atlanta Hawks from this stretch? Now, I'll start off talking about them because we're already on this page. But breaking, Trae Young will miss the next 4 weeks with a sprained MCL per ESPN. So Atlanta's kind of been an interesting team so far, I would say. You know, Trae individually hasn't performed up to par, not even close. His numbers are very down. Frankly, his minutes are down too. So not been a good season from him. And it's still pretty early. You see a lot of different variants around the league with, like, when it comes to guys and their statistics, whether it's the pure output or like the overall percentages. There's a lot of up and down with all of that obviously you would expect to normalize with another 76 or so games left in the NBA season, right? Assuming guys play through a good chunk of that anyway and don't sustain any injuries. But speaking of injuries, without Trae Young, I think that the team can mostly stay afloat. That's not me implying or saying they're better or anything like that. And Trae is obviously one of the main engines of this team, but I think the team is in a weird spot where they seem like they're comfortable, and this may be a reason why the contract situation is what it is. They seem like they are potentially comfortable with or without Trae, right? And so as I dug into some of the numbers for this team and stuff like that, I saw that Jalen Johnson, I mean, it's still really early. He's tended to get hurt over the last couple of years, so we'll see what happens there. They obviously can't suffer another injury like that or have any stuff with Kristaps or Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But Jalen Johnson, he's a 21, 8-5 guy this year. Like, that's pretty awesome. He's back, continuing that upward trajectory that he's been on. His shooting has not been there, but it's, again, 5-6 games into the season. Kristaps has actually been very good in limited minutes for them, and his per 36 is kind of crazy because of it. But anyway, that being said, they've had some guys shuffled in and out, missed a game here, a couple games there. And so ultimately, I think that this team, I really like the way that they designed this roster in terms of having a lot of length, athleticism, switchiness, all these different traits that you see a lot of the top teams have represented on their current rosters, right? And Trae is not any of those things. But I will say that if you were to build a team around Trae, you would like to have a lot of those things, right? And so that's where the point is that he could fit into this team. But they've got enough, I think, on this team, especially being in the Eastern Conference, to at least remain really competitive. And they're at 500 now. I wouldn't be surprised if we check back in a month from now and they're still around the 500 mark. Another thing that's kind of happened as a development for this team is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the big free agent acquisition. They were the ones that won the, can we call it a sweepstakes? I mean, it's not like it's, Trae Young or something. I don't know. Anyway, Nah has been great, right? But this year, they were the ones that got him. And I really like how he's kind of morphed into a higher usage, higher scoring guard this year. That's not really what I would have expected, but he's kind of turned into that, about averaging like 17 or so points per game. He's been on the ball much more, playing a number of minutes as well, taking more shots, mostly career highs across the board in terms of like that overall production metrics for him. So I think that's pretty interesting overall too. So I think they can kind of, again, make up for that a little bit, and we'll see what happens with them going forward. Now, next up, we're going to talk about Kyrie, and we will finish off with Ja, but first, we have to get to a quick word, so don't go anywhere.
Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin.
Oh, my bad. kind of cringe, but those are the types of things that I do over on my gaming channel. Anyway, so Kyrie, let's get back to it. I love how, just on a side note, in the middle of that, Trev's like, I love this. It's so interesting. What does he say? I love the little chuckle, man. I'm gonna have to pester him about that. So Jason Kidd on Kyrie. We can't wait to get Kai back at some point. Hopefully it's in the year of 25, not 26. So I gotta just say a couple things on this. 25 has got like 50 something days left. We are like done. And by the way, man, years go by fast. As I get older and older, the time seems like it goes faster and faster, man. Oh my God, this year shot by like a rocket. So 25 is over, literally. We are in quarter 4 now. It's the end of the year. So yeah, kid, I think that's kind of interesting. The Mavs can't get Kyrie back soon enough. Like, quite literally, they can't get Kyrie back soon enough. However, I think we're towing a dangerous line here. And I was going to say this, but it's represented in this first comment. Shake Milton fan. Dude's game plan is Kyrie getting back to carry this team. It's so over for him. And so that was my initial thought reading this. So firstly, I'd like to say that on this topic, he should be coming back sometime around New Year, right? Things like that. And then does he need to ramp up? How does that look when he comes back? Is he on a minutes restriction? Like, there's so many different factors to this. And then lastly, is he even Kyrie? Like, sometimes it takes guys a year to get back to being themselves. And I would be kind of worried about that as he's an older guard, right? I mean, I do think his skill set with the ball handling, all that stuff is fine. It's just more about, does he still have that burst? Does he still have that same ability to get by people with that first step? Like, those are the things that I'm looking for. I'm not worried about his ability to shoot the ball, to finish around the basket so much. Maybe that's something that can be impacted a little bit, but his handling, I'm not worried about that. But the funny thing is that the problem with this roster is they have literally no playmaking. I mean, they played Detroit yesterday and it was working, right? It was working, and they generated a lot of threes. They had a big D'Angelo Russell game. It was working, but then they just self-destructed down the stretch. They just self-destructed down the stretch. And watching that game, it's really noticeable when a team has one of those guys that can just go out there and on any possession generate a good look for their team. It's so unfortunate Dallas just doesn't have that. I can't imagine why. I just can't imagine why. Detroit had that guy in Cade. It was pretty awesome. Did he have like 18 assists or something like that? Maybe I'm misremembering. Anyway, and so, like, this team has no playmaking. So, firstly, like, I keep saying firstly, lastly, Kyrie's going to come back, and yeah, he's going to make a pretty noticeable difference because this is the worst trait on this team is ball handling and playmaking. I wonder why. Like, there is a humongous chasm and deficit in that. They leaned a little bit too hard into size and defense and didn't care enough about the offensive side of things. I digress. So he's immediately going to impact that, right? That's why I like D'Lo. When I did the numbers video the other day, and D'Lo had a big game too. He was like 7 of 13 from 3, 30 or so points. But that's why D'Lo really stands out on this roster because he's the only guy on the team that does the stuff he does, right? And so he's got a great net rating, all these things. And so Kyrie's going to come in and have the same outcome, whether or not he's 100% or 70%. He's going to still look really great as an option for them and a guy that can play pick and roll with them. And one thing that's really underrated about this current roster, and not in a good way, is I don't think Nico considered several things. Frankly, we can go further back and just say, obviously, he should have considered the trade in the first place. But he didn't consider several things post Luka trade in terms of roster construction. And the big thing is your star is AD. AD has never, there may be a season outlier in there, but pretty much never been a guy that's been able to go out there, create offense for the entire team, things like that. He needs a point guard with him. He needs somebody to set him up. That's why he's been so good historically with guys like a LeBron, like a Rondo, both of them in the year they won the title. But, Rondo before that, all this stuff, like he needs a guy like that to help unlock his game, right? And to his credit, he really developed his own ability to score as he's gotten later into his career. There was a time where you couldn't even throw him the ball in the block so much because if a double team came, he was just turning that thing over. He's gotten much better at that. Like you could play out of him more as a modern 5 in today's NBA. The way that the game is played, where you have these guys, doing a lot of handoffs and all these other things. You can do some of that stuff with AD, but he's not a Giannis. I'm going to take it, go, get down, get to the basket immediately, all this stuff. Frankly, AD's slow as hell. So it just doesn't work, right? So anyway, Kyrie's going to be awesome for this team, but I just really caution, are you going to put too much on Kyrie's shoulders? Like, he can't be the saving grace for this team. I know that everybody, even the fans that are still tuned in, are like, well, when we get Kyrie back, we should be much better. And that is true. Like, I've spent this time saying, it's just, I caution that he's the savior, right? Like, I don't want to put that pressure on him. I don't know that he's the savior. It is what it is. And then AD is already banged up. Do you get to the point where you've got the chance to even see what this roster fully is? Because what if they just cycle each in and out? Like, one's back, one's out. Like, what happens then? Like, again, the Mavs thing's a mess. I think they've got so many problems in this roster. I think a lot of guys are playing out of position, including AD. I think there's just so much happening here, and that it may be better just to tear it down. But that's unfortunate because on paper, I really like this team. It's just so much of it is wrapped into health. It's wrapped into age. It's wrapped into this short window that they have because of those two things. And their team is built around, frankly, a few guys, if you want to throw in Lively and these guys, the older stars, of course, and these guys that have been dealing with injuries throughout their career, whether they have stretches where they're pretty healthy, they've all dealt with injuries. Kyrie's now back to being somebody that's hurt again. And so there's just kind of a lot, right, tied into this. So let's move on to Ja. So Ja is the last piece of the video puzzle today. So we had some stuff on Ja over the last few days where he was upset about basically not playing enough, seemed kind of pouty, maybe also was a little bit frustrated with the poor performance before that happened as well. It could be any number of different things. Maybe he feels like he's not being ran through enough, which is unfortunately the same problem that he had last year. Maybe he feels like the offense is not being ran through him enough. Anyway, so that unfortunately is the same problem. So there's like, is this a common denominator situation? Anyway, so he winds up getting suspended. They decided to suspend him. The team did, not the NBA, of course. The team did, for conduct detrimental to the team because they didn't like the way that he was handling the situation. And that's fair. That is the right decision when you've got somebody. I mean, you could just talk to them privately, but he's clearly a malcontent right now. So I think that's the right decision. Now, teams across the league are now monitoring Ja's relationship with the Grizzlies. And so if teams are monitoring it, that means teams are just swarming around looking at this situation like maybe there's a trade brewing, right? And so yesterday, when I snuck up on Trevor yesterday, y'all see that? It was like 10 minutes in the video, and I pop in. He didn't even know. Little secret, we actually talked for like 3 minutes about that and then a couple other things, and then he just clipped it out. But I caught he had no idea. He was on a whole different screen. Anyway, we talked about the Ja Morant trade a little bit, and some people on Reddit were saying like, oh, he needs some heat culture or this and that, or maybe he would go XYZ team. Now, he's got the salary here, $39 million for this year, 42, 44 the year following. So a lot of money on the books, ultimately. He's obviously at around that point going to be 29-ish at the end of this deal, in that range, looking to get a max extension, which would carry him through to the start of his mid-30s. So I would be concerned about that personally with the way he plays, unless he rounds out the other portions of his game. But obviously we're talking 8 years from now, so it's not a big deal. But for the immediate future, when you talk about a potential trade for Ja Morant, there's just kind of a lot of salary in here. And one of the things that I said was, it's not the worst thing to make a $40 million trade. Like, you could put that together with a couple of guys, ideally, right? But one of the things I said is, if you try to trade for Ja right now, or if you are the team selling Ja anyway, you are selling really low, right? You're selling really low because his value, his stock just can't get any lower than it is right now. He's not been great. He's clearly upset. And so if you're Memphis, why would you do that? Now, the best case for Memphis is that if they do want to pivot maybe into like a not a full-on rebuild, but like a regroup, I should say, around like Jaren Jackson, Cedric, things like that. I don't know if they'd be much better for it. Depends who they get back, of course. But anyway, if they wanted to do that, they could do that. But it's probably better to try to swing that after you get Ja back invested, see what this trio looks like, right? Maybe at that point you decide not to, but at the bare minimum, around the deadline, like not right now. There's no reason to do it right now, right? And I guess maybe if you were to do it right now, potentially, you could ask for more because it's so early in the season where most teams' asking prices are still very high and you may get away with it. But at the end of the day, though, he's still got a few years. I don't think you need to change coaches or anything like that again. You've already done it once. You can't just cycle a guy in and out every time Ja has a problem with them. I don't think you can do that either. I think that it's up to him, the player, and the coaching staff to figure out what the right direction is, right? To figure out the right usage rate for him, the right minutes load for him, things like that, because I'm sure he's just frustrated by a lot of different things right now. He feels like, I don't want to talk for him, but I'd assume he feels like he's not able to put his full game on display. He's not able to play as much as he would like to, shoot as much as he would like to, and show what he can do. Because when Ja was really Ja, he was somebody that they were running through heavily, right? Like in terms of like his minute load, all these other things like that. Like they were running the offense through him a lot. And then they kind of move away from him. He's really upset about that. Then they make a change, and then it's all of a sudden back to being jogging, right? It's like it's there. So it's in there, obviously. It's not like the dude's already 35, right? So I think they've got to figure out the right balance with that. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I don't know that you need to trade Ja. He's a great talent. He's a great player. He's just had so many like little things on the court and then annoyances off the court that maybe it may be in your best interest. He's maturing. He's growing older, of course, and naturally those two things should come hand in hand, I guess. And you could potentially ride it out. I typically take that stance. It's the same stance you've heard me take with Zion on these videos. So we'll see what happens. Lastly, I just wanted to say, because I should have brought this up earlier, I forgot about it. If by chance Atlanta does struggle or flounder, they could reach a point where it's just like, oh, well, let's just trade Trae at the deadline because he's already upset. He's asking out, whatever, right? That could be a thing. Even if they don't, maybe they just aren't able to recover well enough and they wind up being one of the bottom feeders and their pick goes outward. So there's an outside chance San Antonio could get that pick, by the way. So, yeah. There's an outside chance. San Antonio fans are rooting for their demise. So let me know what you guys think. I'll see you all later.